Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and I just gotta say, I feel really sorry for movie studio executives because I cannot imagine what that life is like. You green light something, and then it goes through like 6 months to a year of pre-production, and then 6 months of production, and then another year of post-production, and then it comes out two 1.5 to 2.5 years after you greenlit it. That doesn't even count the years in development hell, and then yeah, it makes $4 million on a $40 million budget. Why not? Why not? Like, why would anyone get into this business? Oh my gosh, it just sounds like the worst. So anyway, I just finished watching Enemy Mine for the first time ever, and it was a very weird experience. So I was a kid. This came out like 1985. I would have been 12, and I remember it very well because I remember being frustrated by it before I even saw it, and it also kind of making me angry because the trailers showed what is kind of pretty much the story, which is two enemies, one human, one alien. They're stuck on a planet, and they've got to learn to be allies and friends. The thing that I kind of recognized intrinsically when I saw the trailer 34 years ago was that's not enough to base a movie around. That's like you could do one episode of Star Trek or basically any sci-fi show. Oh, the enemies, they're stuck on a planet and they got to learn to work together. That's fine, it works, but that's a 44-minute episode plot, and it is just not there to do an entire movie. And yet they did it, kind of. There's a 10 minute at the beginning, which is kind of, I gotta say, I didn't like this movie, but I do like the universe it's in. At the beginning and the end, you get to see this kind of very blue collar military, as well as a kind of like a mining operation, and those scenes are kind of awesome. They're only about 20 minutes of the movie, and the rest is what the trailer makes it look like, except for not really. So you start off, and it's the territorial dispute in space. It's the humans against the Drax, and one of the things I remember about the black hole is that in the Disney movie is that they were saying that was the last movie made with like 100% practical, kind of like the old school, 2001 style of special effects. This is, I believe, made mostly in West Germany back in the 1980s. And I've got to say, there's something really cool about this whole movie. So I did a little research. Apparently, it had a different director, and they had filmed for weeks or months. They spent like 17 million in the mid 80s. And then the studio saw the dailies, and they're like, "This is trash. It looks awful." So they fired the director, and then it looked like things went on hiatus for a couple of months. And then they started up with Wolfgang Peterson, who directed Never Ending Story, which I probably will watch in the next month or so. And I've got to say, visually, and we're talking about everything from the Drac, makeup to the one of the things I liked about this Space Force, I think it was called BTA, is it almost looked like if the 1950s aesthetic changed for evolved over another like 100 years. Like they have these kind of fighter jet spaceships, and they're very plain, like it's just kind of like a dull silver metal exterior with no real markings on it. And I was like, and they just look cool. And then when they show space, it's a lot of matte paintings, but it's really good matte paintings. I would almost say the visual, production design and the special effects make it look like some kind of like French bande dessinée, graphic album from the 60s or 70s. I absolutely loved it. Like, I would have loved to see Valerian shot, in 1985 by Wolfgang Peterson. But so they have a pretty good, actually, little space battle, and then two ships crash. One with Dennis Quaid, who I am now calling a Harrison Ford franchisee. He was the first and only person to buy the official Harrison Ford franchise, which came with it mannerisms, facial expressions, and basically an accent. Like, he literally is like Kmart Harrison Ford. He's good though. So they crash land, and it's him and Drac. And at first they're kind of hunting each other. I would say my biggest problem with this movie is that Dennis Quaid, I forget his character's name, and Jariba, Louis Gossett Jr., they become friends like way too fast. There's this one kind of cool scene where Quaid is hunting Jariba, and then it's like caught, and then he kind of becomes like a prisoner, and then they're just kind of buddies. Like, they have a couple fights, but they're basically boys like almost instantly. There are some fun and interesting parts to this movie with some long stretches of just like medium shot, long scene that's like twice as long, just dialogue. So there was kind of some fun scenes of them creating their, the first fight, and then creating some shelters, and then it just starts getting really stretched out. There's a kind of cool part where Jariba, the Dracs are not androgynous. Like, they don't have two different sexes. It's just one. So you become pregnant. You don't become pregnant by someone else. It seems to be just like you hit a certain age and it just gestates a baby in your body. But Jariba is kind of like, he has like a male persona, but then when he becomes pregnant, he becomes very female, or she becomes female. You know what I mean. But then the biggest surprise is, I would say like an hour and 10 minutes in, maybe like an hour in, Jariba, Louis Gossett Jr., dies. He just dies after he has a kid. And then Dennis Quaid's character raises Jariba's kid, whose name is, I forget. And then that goes on forever. And then all of a sudden, there's a mining operation like 2 miles away from their cave. Yeah. So it's like they realize, it's like, oh, we can't just have a movie comprised entirely of medium shots and close-ups in a cave. By the way, like I said, the production design in this is so good that even like the final cave they end up in is awesome. Like, it's freaking huge. And you could tell Wolfgang Peterson really liked having such a big set, because there's scenes of Dennis Quaid just like, oh, I hear something. And he just runs to like the, opening of the cave. It feels like it's a good like 25, 30 meters. So like, this is a huge set. The other thing is at the end, like in the last 20 minutes, like a whole bunch of stuff happens. And they go to like these 4 different gigantic sets. Some of these have little sets that are huge, and they're like in one scene, like literally like 18 minutes before the end, Dennis Quaid gets shot straight in the heart. They think he's dead. Somehow he's okay. Then he gets rehabilitated, I don't know, in a couple weeks, months, I don't know, something. And then he gets like reinstated alive. And then he goes and he's, steals a ship to, go rescue his, I don't know what you call him, foster son. And I got to tell you, there's scenes of them going through this space station. I mean, there was like 4 minutes of it in the beginning. There's another 10. This is one of the coolest sets. Just like everything is cool. There's like this little pod for when you're, recuperating. It's traveling through. And then one time they go into an elevator, and then you see like it's going down like 3 levels. Now, yeah, it's probably the same level 3 times, but it's a really, really good, practical effects shot. You're like, this set is freaking awesome. And it's like not even in like 1/5 of the movie. It's just like they kind of move on. He escapes. and then it becomes this rescue in a mine. So the enemy mine is a literal mine. Oh, I forgot one cool part. There's this like burrowing under the sand creature that sticks up like an antenna, and then it lashes on something, and then it drags it down. There was a cool scene where they have a temporary shelter, and it comes up in the inside of it, and then like the mouth part comes up. That was great, but there was just like the movie was like the script wasn't good. Like it's it's really, I wouldn't call it a first draft because it looks like it was actually had multiple drafts and they don't go together. It seems like at one point they realized that just like two guys becoming frenzies in a cave was not enough to make a movie around. But it sounds like they shot most of it. You know, and this is back in the day when you're shooting on film and it was really expensive. So I made I was very proud of myself. I made the right decision. When I was a kid, there wasn't a movie theater, so we'd just see a couple movies per year, and there was a big like family vote on it. And I missed out on some good movies. I missed out on Last Starfighter. I missed out on. I was actually given the option to see Big Trouble in Little China, and I turned it down. I said that looks silly. And weirdly enough, I got the chance to see Excalibur when I was like 9 at my buddy's house, and I was like, that looks weird. But I will say, I'm except for the production design, I am glad I did not see Enemy Mine in theaters. I mean, it took me 2 days to watch it, and especially in the middle part, it's freaking excruciating. The weird part is like the last 15 minutes are kind of freaking awesome. I really like this universe. I would probably put this Enemy Mine universe as kind of like blue collar people in mining and military out in space. Pretty close up with like the Wayland Yutani Alien franchise. Just besides the Alien, just like that aspect of talking about the future and what's going to be like in space. Pretty cool. I can't recommend this except for like the first 10 minutes and the last 15 to 20. All the stuff in the middle, well, not all the stuff, but most of the stuff in the middle. I mean, one point there's Dennis Quaid is like teaching the kid football, and it's so cringy and it's boring, and you're just like, where is this going? But anyway, I can't recommend it except for the production design and the first 10 minutes and the last, I don't know, 15. So anyway, thanks for watching. I got a whole bunch of great stuff lined up. I got the Whole Wide World, which is the a biography of Robert E. Howard, who created Conan the Barbarian, Ice Pirates, The Black Hole, a whole bunch of stuff. So it's funny, like I literally make like 1/30th as much money on this channel as I do on my other, and I would say I actually probably enjoyed this one a little bit more. It's a lot of fun just talking about just whatever random movie or TV show I see. Thanks for watching. Bye.